Hello,
Avinash.
sir.
Good morning,
Yeah,
sir.
Yadav says good morning, Sanchi. Great. Very good,
Good
very
morning,
good,
sir.
Good
very
morning,
good.
sir.
Okay, friends. So, like I was telling you, it's unfortunate that we
Good
lost
morning,
little
sir.
time, but we'll make up for it. We'll extend the session for a little more time, right? And as I was
No
telling
problem,
you,
sir.
that I am very happy with the questions that I got yesterday, which shows that you guys were absolutely involved and attentive to what I was saying, which is very, very heartening for any teacher or any trainer. Now, I've got few questions from you all, which I have shortlisted from 50 odd questions that we got. And we will be dealing on these questions
Sir,
a
how
little
will you
more
get the certificate
in today's session.
of
I have
participation?
planned my session accordingly. Okay, so first question which came from Sopan Shah was, is sales a push strategy and marketing a pull strategy? I had told you in the last class, that is yesterday, that push strategy is a sales oriented, sales concept strategy. And today we live in the marketing concept rather in the holistic marketing concept. So this push concept has become redundant, right? Mostly what is there is pull strategy, whether it is personal selling, direct selling, or it is not personal selling, it is through maybe non-personal platforms like writing letters or through any other marketing communication through advertisements or whatever. Okay, but today essentially we do pull strategy and not push strategy, and I'll be talking about it when I deal with the subject. Don't sell, make the customer buy. Okay, because when you sell, it is a push strategy. Next question is from Abhishek, which is very, very relevant. It is not a question, rather he has given a statement that you should sell ideas and not product. Very well said. Yes, customer is not buying a product. He is rather buying the benefit that he perceives that he is going to get in that particular product. So you have to weave your entire sales sequence, your sales gimmick around how your product will serve the necessities of the consumer and take him out of the tensions that he has because certain needs are not being fulfilled. Right? Okay. Then Manpreet says, why do you say selling is a science and not an art? And he also specifies that it should be an art because there are no rigid rules. Well, Manpreet, there may not be dogmatic rules, but there is a format. There is a process through which scientific selling goes. All right? Huh? And there are golden norms which one should follow. So it is more of a science than an art. Some participant yesterday had asked, what are the qualities somebody should have to become a salesman or to opt for a sales career? Where nothing at all, because since it's a science, it can be taught. Right? It is a very old concept that salesmen are born. No, today salesmen can be made, or rather salesmen are made. Next question comes from Rahul. He says, digital marketing will make sales job redundant. Not at all. Not at all. See, what you people think sales is personal selling only. No, it is not. Where I will be defining selling for you guys when I start my session after the questions. Selling is basically value creation for the consumer. This value creation can happen through a personal contact or without personal contact also. There are many, many mediums through which you need not be in physical contact, especially during these days when there is COVID and there is limitation in our meeting our customers personally, right? So there are other ways by which you can also do sales. So selling will never become redundant. It will always be there because it is the core of any organization. Everybody is working to bring up sales, to develop sales, to increase sales. And so how can selling become redundant? It can never become redundant. Okay. Robin says how to
हेलो
handle
भाइयों और बहनों.
rejections. And the answer was given by Sarika very well. She has said rejection becomes because your product doesn't suit the needs of the consumer. Very well said. Now, need is a very complex term, right? And I cannot teach you what is need in today's webinar, right? You need to be here for 2 long years, study, learn the nuances of selling, and there in between we will learn what is need, because needs are of many types. There are conscious needs, there are subconscious needs, there is a stated need, unstated need, real need, secret need. There are so many types of needs, and all are relevant for a salesman. So need is a very loosely used word which you need to know perfectly, because everything revolves around customers' need only, right? Okay. One more thing which Sarika said was that you should accept rejections. Yes, very well said. Well, in a sales profession and today's marketing era, you cannot get all the orders, because if you get all the orders, then what are your competitors going to do? Then you will be living in a monopoly market, which is not there. So you should learn to accept losing of orders also. But number one, you have to fight it till the end, right? Try and convert it into a sale again if you can. If you cannot, accept it as a fait accompli and go on, find another customer. There is one more waiting to sign your order, right? Go find him. Work hard, work smart. Increase your knowledge base. Increase your tenacity. Okay? The success triangle which I told you. Okay. Then Shri Bhagata, she says patience is the key to sales. Well, Bhagata, a salesman should have many virtues, but all these virtues can come by training. All right. And if I can tell you one personality which is the best salesman on earth ever, is Lord Krishna. Right? He was a perfect combination of knowledge and application of knowledge in the strategies of convincing people, which is Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed, Chal, Bal, Kaushal. Right? His persona was complete with his smile, mesmerizing smile. He used to dress up well. He was very catchy, right? In his presence. Okay, so patience is definitely a virtue, right? But alongside patience, you need many more things to be a perfect salesman. Okay, Shriram says, how can I impress the customer? Well, you can impress the customer by your walk, by your talk, by what you know, how you translate what you know in a manner that satisfies the customer that he needs your product. It will satisfy his latent need, right? All that I'm going to be discussing today also when I do the systematic sales procedure. Okay, Sneha says, many big companies do not spend on marketing. Beta, this is wrong. If any company will not spend on marketing or on bringing up their sales, that company will sooner or later shut down. And there have been many reasons. Many companies who are very great organizations once upon a time, right? They've all closed shop. Kodak, for one, right? Such a big company. They did not adapt to the market situations. Okay, so they died. They did not do the right marketing. Okay, recently we have done a case study on what all McDonald's should do to increase their sales. What are the things that they are not doing? This particular recording of this particular case study of the class is there on the net. Go on Takshila site, see it for yourself. Right? What all students have said. So every company does marketing. And like I told you yesterday, not only the marketing department does marketing, everybody in the company does marketing. I also gave you the example of how Nano failed because they lagged behind in marketing. So please, for heaven's sake, marketing is very, very important for you. Next, Sandeep says, Sandeep Kondale, what kind of person is apt for sales? A Krishna sales guy. Be a Krishna sales guy. Right? In one word. Gaurav says, how to handle fake and fraud customers? Well, Gaurav, you don't have fake customers or fraud customers. Customer is your king. Customer is God. How can you have a fraud king or a fraud God? All right? Never see a customer through the spectacles of doubt. He is there for you to encash, not he to encash you. You only need to guard your interests so that you don't get cheated. That's all that you need to do. Right? But no customer is a fraud customer. All customers are genuine customers to be handled with care, comfort. Right? Then only can you translate your consumers into sales. Okay. Robin says, how to convince customer to buy. That's what we're going to be discussing today. Right? And then finally, Shailendra says, strategy behind product-less marketing. Now, I did not understand this word, product-less marketing. I think what he's meaning is service. Now, here again, there is a myth. People think product is different and service is different. No, service is also a product. You have physical product, tangible product, and untangible product. So whatever applies to a tangible product also applies to service, which is a intangible product. So the rudiments of selling, the rudiments of marketing is going to remain same. All right. So now let me weave my today's discussion on these questions. First and foremost, you need to understand what is selling. Right? And Kotler has very, very meaningfully said, selling is not finding clever ways of disposing of what you produce. I repeat this sentence and you can make a note of it if you want. Kotler has said, Philip Kotler, the god of marketing, he has said, selling is not finding clever ways, right, of disposing of what you produce, right, or what you make. It is a genuine value creation activity. So selling is what? Selling is value creation. Right? So you need to understand what is value and how do we create it. If we can understand these two things, number one, what is value and how you will create it, if you know these two things, automatically everything will fall in place and you will get heaps of orders, heaps of sales, right? So first and foremost, let us understand what is value. Now I had touched upon it. Yesterday, right? What is value? Value, I told you, is benefit divided by cost. All right. Now, We need to understand what is benefit and what is cost. Products are bought for benefit at a cost. Your cost should always be lower than the benefit. All right. Benefits are always compared with the cost that the customer is paying. Now, what is benefit? Benefit can be anything, right? It can be a feature of a product. All right. Or it can be a psychological benefit, right? For example, let me tell you, you join MBA college. Now, all students do not join an MBA college because of the same benefit. Some people join an MBA course to get knowledge, which is very, very biogenic. Others want a job, right? A good job, a lucrative job, a 12 lakh rupees job or a 15 lakh rupees job. So it is that benefit that they're looking at and not only knowledge. And then there is somebody who joins MBA college for the lifestyle that he's going to get, right? He looks at the facilities that the college is giving, the pool, the auditorium, the playgrounds, the gymnasium, right? The canteens, the mess, the kind of food, the hostel facilities. He looks at that. So that is his major benefits. Alongside that, he may want knowledge to get a job, right? So we need to understand what actually the customer is looking for. And each customer will be looking for a different benefit. I will be talking on that. I will be giving an example, right? And then the cost. Now, what is the cost? Cost can be the price, which is monetary. It can also be effort, how much effort you put in to get that particular product, right? So all these things, so benefit divided by cost, you need to know what benefit the consumer is looking at, right? And you will find customers look for benefits which are different from each other. All consumers will not look for one and only one benefit. There is one video of mine on the net. You can Google me, Professor Jitendra Nigam. Don't sell, make the customer buy. In which I have spoken on this value equation without giving so much details that I am talking on value equation. Why? Because I was addressing a group of hoteliers who were wanting to sell their banquet hall, and they were having a problem selling their banquet hall, right? So Takshila was hired to come and train their sales staff on how to sell a banquet hall, and you will find details in that particular video. It's a 20-30 minutes video. But I will tell you the nutshell what I told those guys. I told them, how do you sell? Right? So their general manager told me that they have got a PPT presentation which they go and tell everybody. I told them that is where you are going wrong. With each consumer, you need to understand what is the benefit he is looking for through that banquet hall. For example, if somebody comes to take your banquet hall for marriage of his daughter, right? Now, what is the benefit that he is looking for? He is looking for the benefit of status. He wants to tell the world that, look, I am getting my daughter married in a 5-star hotel. All right. So that is the benefit he's looking for. So what is the point of harping on your room size and your room quality and your pool and your restaurant, and what is the point? Because he's not going to use that. The people who are coming are not going to use that, right? So he's basically looking for your branding. So sell status there. Sell your brand name, sell the status. Cut. If you want If somebody comes to you that he wants your banquet hall for a, a, a birthday party for his child, now there, don't sell status, because the child does not want status. What does the child want? Child wants fun and frolic, maja masti, small, good, short eats. So sell that instead of selling status. Sell the excitement that you will be able to create in that banquet hall. Similarly, if you have some ladies coming for a kitty party in your banquet hall, right? Now here, don't sell excitement, don't sell status, sell privacy. Because the ladies want privacy. Tell them that you will have ladies serving you, waitresses for you, lady staff for you, right? So build a sale around value proposition vis-a-vis the cost, right? And if you can give the best cost and the lowest cost and the highest benefit, you will never lose an order. I am telling you, you will never lose an order. All right. So go on to that link of mine. Read this particular, listen to this particular video. If you have questions, you can write to me directly on the email ID class@takshila.in. Write to me. I will reply back, right, with whatever that you would like to know further on this particular concept of mine. Don't sell, make the customer buy, which is woven around the value proposition. We call it PV. If you happen to be here and studying from me, I will be teaching you again. PV is a very, very big concept. Perceived value. What is perceived value? How to find out perceived value? How to translate perceived value into benefit and cost equation. All right. So this is what you need to do, and I'm sure you will do well for yourself in selling. Now, let me come up with something else, and that is a research which was done at the Harvard School of Management, USA, right? And it's a very, very interesting research, gives meaningful insight, right? And it also relates to that triangle which I was telling you of universal knowledge, smart hard work, and tenacity, right? And the research says that 80% of the people, 80% of the consumers, right? 80% of the consumers say no up till 4 calls. What does it say? That if you're in a selling profession, maybe direct selling, personal selling, or virtual selling, right? Or through your sales letters, SMSs, video calls, whatever that you do, okay? 80% of the customers will keep telling you, no, I don't want your product up till 4 calls. Now, this is one fact. Now, there is another fact. And that fact is 34% salespeople stop following up the customer after the first call. After 34% people, they will make the first call and then they will become judgmental. Arey yaar, ye to kharidega nahi yaar. He is too negative. Or he doesn't need it yaar. Let's forget him. Right? Then 15% people stop calling after second call. Right? 30% stop calling after third call. Right? and 13% stop calling after fourth call. Now, this is what I'm talking about is tenacity. Okay. So 34 people say, "Arey, not required here. He will not buy." Some 15% say, "Oh, after second call, oh, he is not going to buy." 30% say, "Oh, 3 call kar liye, he is not buying here, so let us forget him." 13 people say, "Oh, how many times will I go to him here? He is not only buying." Okay. So how many remain? Only 8% remain. Only 8% go beyond 4 calls. Right? And these 8% get all the customers. Right? 8% get all the customers. So it's very important for you to have the patience, like somebody said, and also have the determination to call on the consumer. Call doesn't mean just go and meet him like a postman and come back. No. Meaningful call. Meaningful call means where you have progressed the sale, where you have used your universal knowledge to create that PV, perceived value. Right? You have used your knowledge, universal knowledge, right, to convert whatever the customer is thinking into facts and benefits vis-a-vis cost. So this is a very interesting piece of research which was done by Harvard, and it should be used. It only says that don't give up. Don't give up. Keep your knowledge up to date and keep calling on customer till the time you either get the order or you lose the order completely. When I say completely, I gave you the example yesterday wherein I got a lost order back. Right? JK Synthetic example. And I took it out of the mouth of a big company like Philips. And there are many, many examples like this. Due to limitation of time, I can't do it now. But if God gives us the pleasure of being together, maybe I will give you many more examples to state what I am stating. Okay. All right. Now, so this is about this particular concept. Don't sell, make the customer buy, would have addressed a lot of questions of yours. If you still have many, keep giving me questions here. I will, in the end of the session, we will take those questions also. Now, somebody said, why is sales a science? It's a science because it goes through a particular pattern. Right? It goes through a particular format. It goes through a particular process. And what is the process? I will start from bottom, from the first step. And the first step is suspecting. Now, what is suspecting? You must have heard this term. Especially the students who have done their BBA, they would be very familiar with this word, suspecting, prospecting. Right? Now, what is suspecting? Right? Suspecting is, what is the meaning of suspecting? Shak karna. Right? So, you have to doubt each and every customer that he's going to buy. Right? When I was in this company, Avery, we were told to go and do canvassing for the orders. Don't wait for inquiries to come to the office. You go and create inquiries. Go and sell and create inquiries. And so we were given a bullet motorcycle and we will smartly dress up and with a tie and all, and we'll go and park the bullet motorcycle at the end of the road, and from one factory to the other factory to the other factory to the other factory, without becoming judgmental, without looking at the facade of the building and saying, "Arey yaar, this is a dilapidated building, he is not going to have money to buy." Right? Nothing of that sort. We are going to suspect each and every a factory that he can buy, first and foremost. Similarly, we were also working for retail market, the shopkeepers. There also in the evening, we will remove our tie so that we become looks little casual for the person. And then call from one shop to another shop to another shop, not leave any shop in between. Right? This is called suspecting. It is the most difficult part of selling, suspecting. Right? And most sales people dread suspecting. But without suspecting, you cannot climb the stairs. That is the first step of the staircase. And unless you climb the first step of the staircase, you can't go up. Right? So suspecting, you will have to do. And you will have to enjoy your suspecting. And that will happen if you have knowledge base, right? And you can translate that knowledge base into the benefits your products can give your consumer. Right? But not all customers would need a machine. Maybe they have it already. Right? Or they don't have the finances. Or the person with money authority need is not there today. Right? So you may not, all suspects may not convert into prospects. What is prospect? Now, some people have said, yes. I think we can consider buying your product. The moment somebody says, okay, I will consider, he becomes a prospect. Right? Once he becomes the prospect, now you have to make sure that you give him a good presentation. All right. You can give him a good presentation. So set up an appointment with the person who has money, authority, and need. Right? And then you approach the customer. Now, from here, the main work starts. Approach. Approach does not mean you just go and say, bang, 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 can I come in, sir? I have got this thing to sell. No. You have to do a lot of homework before you meet the man and start selling. Right? You need to have the universal knowledge. You need to know your product. You need to know your competitors' products. You need to know why this customer will want it, will need it. Right? What are the benefits that are more than your competitors, the USPs that you have? Okay. Alongside that, you also need to know the behavior and the likes and dislikes of the person, that man. Right? If you can, because that gives you a personal equation with that guy. If he's playing golf and you also play golf, there'll be an instant bond between both of you. So you need to know his personal likes and dislikes also. All right? And the moment you do that, and when you approach, the selling sequence starts, and that is AIDA, where A stands for attention, I stands for interest, D stands for desire, and A stands for action. Right? Now we have to build this AIDA model in our selling sequence. So when you approach, your approach has to be very emphatic. Right? Your physical disposition should be very good, very appealing for your man, for the person with money, authority, need. When you approach him, you should have that confidence in your eyes and the stiffness in your neck, so that he knows he's got somebody who means business. Right? Then only will he give you time. So approach. Very important. Very, very important. More than half the work is done if you can get good attention of the consumer. Right? And it is the first 10 seconds which makes your customer evaluate you and take you seriously or not seriously. Okay, so be very emphatic on this. You should have universal knowledge. You should be a Krishna salesman, good looking, well dressed. Good looking, I don't mean, I mean you should have good features. I mean that is something which God has given you, but you can always polish it. Right? So do that. Give an emphatic attention. The moment the customer gets attention, now you get into detailing. Here you start building the PV, perceived value, benefit divided by cost. You start with this. Okay. Now you have got attention. The customer has your attention. Now you have started detailing. You're trying to build a sale, telling him why your banquet hall is apt for you vis-a-vis the price. So you have started with your PV. While you are detailing, the customer is going to have objections. Right? And while you are detailing, you try and bring in interest in him, in your product, through telling him how your benefits are higher than your cost. All right. And now customer will come up with some objections, and most salespeople think objections are blockages because the word used is objection. All right. So objection means he is blocking me. No, he is not blocking you. He is interested in you. Because he is interested in you and he wants to develop a desire for your product, he is asking you certain questions. Common objections are you are expensive than your competitors. Right? Which means that your benefit is lower. Build more on the benefit. Tell him something more, some more features which he can use vis-a-vis his competitor. Automatically the benefit will go up and the cost will keep coming down in relationship of benefits. All right. So objections are not blockages. Objections are rather a passage the customer is giving you to bring in the desire element in him. And once the desire in him is invoked, right? That yes, I must have this particular product. Immediately asked for order, which is action. Right? Thereafter, don't wait. Because like I told you yesterday, there are many slips between the cup and the lip. Then don't wait. Just ask for the order. Very, very important. Asking for the order is very important. You have done very good suspecting, prospecting, appointment, approach, detailing. सब अच्छा किया. Objection handling भी अच्छा किया. लेकिन order नहीं मांगा. Right? You will not get the order. So remember, friends, objections are very, very beneficial for a salesman. He should know how to overcome that objection. And let me tell you a small joke on this. Right? And the joke goes that there was a very fine salesman of a very expensive car. Right? They had a massive showroom. You can talk of any expensive car, maybe Rolls Royce, right? A very, very expensive car. And a very rich lady, an old rich lady, very old, maybe in her 60s, came to buy that car. And the salesman was detailing her the benefits of that car. Okay, vis-a-vis that old lady, whatever that she wanted, he kept on telling her and kept increasing the benefits of the sale. Right? The lady was very happy and she wanted to buy that car. But she had one objection. She said, tell me, does this car meet with an accident? Obviously, all cars meet with an accident, man, was the reply of the salesman. Oh, such an expensive car with crash bags and with such nice bulletproof body. It also meets with an accident. No, I don't want it. He said, madam, not that it purposely goes and hits somewhere, but just in case, if it meets with an accident, you need to be prepared for that, just in case. Right? But she said, no. Even just in case, if it meets with an accident, I don't want this car. And she started walking out of the showroom. Right? When she had nearly reached the gate, the salesman shouted from behind, madam! And that lady turned back. She turned back and she saw the salesman had removed his shirt. And he was bare-chested. He said, ma'am, just give me one reply. She said, yes, tell me. He said, what are these? He said, what the hell are you talking? Insane guy. These are nail nipples. What else? And he said, ma'am, tell me, why did God create? No. He said, because God thought, just in case if a male has to deliver a baby, he will need nipples to feed the child. All right. So an objection, sometimes objections are rubbish also. And they have to be rubbished away, like this only. Right? And this salesman got the order. Okay, there are many such stories I have to tell you guys, but we need to have time to sit together and discuss it. Right, friends? So, this is the scientific way of selling. Now, since it is a scientific way of selling, that is why it is said that selling is a science more than an art. Yes, little bit of art is always there. You need that creativity, okay, and that spontaneity in you, right? But essentially, it is a science, and salesmen are not born. Salesmen are made. And I take the pride in telling you, there are many students, including girls, who wanted to go into HR only. I converted them from HR to sales, and today they are doing very well. I have people who are CEOs whom I have trained. Right? And I would not like to take names in this webinar, but when we meet, I will let you know and give you the numbers to talk to them. And they all owe their success partly to me also. I have nothing less than 24 people who are general managers today. At least 4 to 5 CEOs, and maybe thousands of managers, all in sales. And when I say sales, I don't mean only sales, please. I don't mean personal selling. When I say sales, I mean the core of marketing, which is sales. When you are in advertising, then also you are in sales. Everybody does selling. All right, friends. So, remember one thing, selling is not difficult. Not difficult at all. Like people think it is. Like people think that gates crash on their face. Like people think you have to go begging. No, you don't have to go begging. People feel it's a menial job. No, it's not a menial job. It's a noble job. The door get banged on your face because you don't have that success triangle with you. You are lacking somewhere. Otherwise, why should a customer shoo you off? Who is a customer? A customer is one who is in pain because he has a need. What is need? Need is basically that sense of something missing inside you, which gives you tension. Right? So you are one who relieves the customer of tension. So you are a giver, not a taker. Right? And if you can establish this, customers will embrace you. They will love you. They'll become your friends. And we say that good people, good salesmen are ones who not only sell, but they make friends also. I have so many customers of mine who are my dear friends. So don't shy away from selling. Don't remove those cobwebs. Right? If you can do it scientifically, there is no way you will not make success. There is no way you will fail in a selling profession. And the selling profession is the one that gives you everything from money to status to fast promotions to freedom of work, right? To leadership, to everything. Right, friends? With this, I will now take few questions. Right. Okay. Now, Bharat Singh is saying today's entrepreneur now takes upon three major dimensions as part of their magic triangle of success: entrepreneurship, profitability, innovation, and sustainability. Each aspect goes hand in hand, complementing each other to achieve greater accomplishment, all the while taking risk and pushing beyond the edge. Very, very true. Very, very right. Yes, yes. To create that magic, the magic triangle, you have said profitability. That is what I have said. Why do you need to push up your sales? Because only and only sales can give you profitability. Can purchase ever give you profitability? Who gets money? Who goes and sells? The sales department or the marketing department goes and sells. They are the only revenue earners for the organization. Everybody else is spending money. The production is spending money, the purchase is spending money, the accounts is spending money, the HR is spending money by giving salaries. Only sales people are the one who create profitability for the organization. Right? Next question is there. What if I have to sell something that is not convincing to me personally, but I have to do it as a job? Never, never, never do it. Okay? Unless you are convinced. You cannot convince your customer. You have to have conviction in your product. All right. Unless you have that conviction in your product that you are selling the best product, you will never be able to sell. You will be full of doubts. And when you are in doubt, how can you clear somebody else's doubts? Are you getting my point? Now, why are you in doubt? Because your knowledge base is low. Getting my point? You have, if somebody has made a product and if that product is selling, right, and you are not able to get sales, means that there's nothing wrong with the product per se. There's something wrong with you. Look for that. Introspect. See what is missing in you, and you will find that knowledge is missing. Right? And that knowledge is missing because you don't have the motivation inside you to learn more about the product, learn more about somebody else's product, learn more about how it can be used for the consumer. Right? So always sell a product. Whenever you are selling a product, first be convinced yourself. When you are convinced, when your mind is clear, then only can you translate your thoughts into your customer's mind. If you have cobwebs, if you have doubts, right, how can you translate into your customer's mind? So always, always, always get convinced about the product that you're selling. You must be proud of what you're selling. You must take pride in saying that I'm selling the best product, then only it will sell. Then only it will translate into benefits for the consumer. Next question. What is push and pull strategy that you mentioned? Okay. It's a very basic question. Uh, Push strategy is when you try, and many companies today are still doing push strategy, although it is a dated way of selling, right? How has marketing evolved? Marketing has evolved over eras, right? Ever since man became civilized, the advent of marketing started happening and transformations kept happening. So first and foremost, the way to do business was barter system, right? Then came the production concept because you wanted more production. Then came the product concept because you wanted quality. Then came the sales concept where everybody had to push their products. But then came marketing concept. And the marketing concept says that customer is the king. Customer is the center of all marketing activities. And you have to take the customer along with you and not drive your or throw your product on his face and hard drum him to buy it. Take him along. Right? You can see my don't sell, make the customer buy video. And this is what I have said. Don't push your product in a regimented, boxed manner. Right? Create an understanding that the product has been built for the customer and take him along. Push. Don't push him. Pull him to come and buy your product. All right. So today's era is the pull era and not the push era. Although there are some companies who are doing it, and there are few authors who still say that push strategy is required. I personally feel, for one, that push strategy is not required. What you need to do is pull the customer, take the customer along with you to buy a product. And if you are here with me for the next 2 years, you will certainly learn how to take the customer along with you rather than pushing the product onto the customer. Next, sir, what steps should I follow to know what my client or customer desires? What steps should I take? Now, the answer should be with you. You have to go inside the customer's mind, more importantly into his subconscious mind, and find out what he wants. Like I told you, I gave you the example of a banquet hall sale, right? A person who's wanting to take your banquet hall for the evening party, what does he want? You have to know he's looking for status. Now, if you tell him, are you looking for status? He will say, no, I'm not looking for status because it's a subconscious need. Right? So it is for you to get into the mind of the consumer and fathom out what he wants. There is no structured way by which you can find out. You will have to talk to the consumer, get inside that mode, use your experience of the past sales to fathom out what is he looking for, what are his conscious needs, what are his subconscious needs. And let me also warn you, purchases are made on the subconscious needs and not on conscious needs. You get your point? That is why you have stated need and unstated need, real need and secret need. All right. There are so many examples which are popping up in my mind, which I would like to translate and tell you, but time is short. I think we have already run out of time, right? So I will not deliberate on that, but you can always write to me on class@takshila.in and I will reply back to you on email, right? Or we will design up one more webinar for you guys to dwell a little deeper into this particular sales sequence. Okay, let me take one more question. What's the time now? 12:40. 12:04. Okay, so we have some 10 minutes more. We will do that. What is high ticket closing? Any idea about this concept? High ticket closing. I'm sorry, I have not heard this term, high ticket closing. Right. If you can give me some details on that, maybe I will be able to tell you about it. But just the term high ticket selling does not really bring any bells in my mind. So I'm sorry. You can write to me at class@takshay.in with some references. Then I will try and answer your question. Okay. Uh, how to sell product to a negotiator. Negotiator. Okay. Sell a product to a negotiator. I have not understood negotiate. What do you mean by negotiator? Again, the question is a little blurred. You are a negotiator also. If you are meaning somebody who is die-hard negotiator, then like I told you, your patience and your tenacity will work. He is going to ask you many questions, many questions. He may put in many objections. But then if your product suits his conscious and subconscious needs, he will definitely buy it. Okay, so you need to keep probing into his mind, find out which is the main reason that he wants to buy it. Right? Same product can be sold for many reasons. Okay, you have to see why this particular person is wanting to buy it. Products can be sold for status. Product can be sold for biogenic or physical needs also. For example, let me tell you, let us talk about an SUV car, a sports utility vehicle car. Right? Since I am a golfer, I have taken a big car because I would like to keep my golfing kit, aram se in it, and take it with me. Plus, we are in a joint family. The brothers stay together with their family. So sometimes we need to go out together. So we need a big car. But most people want to buy an SUV to tell the world that I am adventurous guy. And that is what the advertisements also talk about. If you want to become adventurous, if you want to tell the world you're adventurous, buy this SUV and people will take you to be adventurous. Again, something which needs more discussions. Superficially, I cannot explain. Right? So come to Takshila. We are the best. I personally feel so. I may be wrong, can be corrected, but I personally feel Takshila is the college which gives the best sales and marketing training amongst many B schools. And that is one of the reasons why I am with Takshila since 2006. I left my company, Avery India, at the age of 42, and I was vice president there. Thereafter, I set up my business. It took me 4 years. And when I wanted to do something for self-actualization, I took up teaching, and I've been with Takshila since then. Why? Because of this reason, because we work very hard with our students, very hard with our students, trying to train them, not teach them, train them to be super salespeople. And when I say super salespeople, I'll take you back to the starting of my lecture of yesterday. I said, salesmanship doesn't mean you have to go out and you have to take up sales as your profession. Salesmanship is a trait. Salesmanship is a quality that you need to learn and imbibe and work through it. Right? That is what is salesmanship. Okay, let's take the next question. How do we differentiate between fetching data about personal interest of target customers and mind staking? Okay. Interesting. How, what this gentleman, what's his name? Okay. Shatrughan Ojha. Shatrughan. Well, Shatrughan, See, this is what we used to do. Let us say, I will tell you, again, I will give you a live example. Okay. Again, of this company, JK Synthetics only. They were coming up with this plant at Jhalawad. And the decision making was to be done by the CEO, Ramapati Singhania, who used to sit in Kota. So I made a visit to the plant at Jhalawad, Prithvipura, went around the factory, saw where all my weighing machines could be installed, right? Worked out on the cost benefit analysis, which is nothing but PV, perceived value, benefit divided by cost, right? Did that, came to Kota, then went to their plant at Kota, which was manufacturing same product, right? Went around, saw the waypoints, saw where all, and noted down where all I have missed, discussed with people, why do they need this particular weighing machine in this department? What does this weighing machine do for you? What benefits you get? Then I was ready with my knowledge on the product, right? Versus competitor's product, versus benefit and cost analysis, which is PV, perceived value, benefit divided by cost. Now I had to meet Ramapati Singhania, right? So I spoke to their people in a very casual manner. Ramapati ji, what's his qualification? Oh, he's an MBA from Harvard. Oh, is it? Oh, he had studied there. And he is very, very upright guy, very, very straightforward guy. Whatever he likes, he likes. He doesn't like, he doesn't like. And he is fond of cars, Yes, I'm talking about late 80s, early 90s, right? Just soon after liberalization or post or pre-liberalization, when we did not have these foreign cars here, we only had Ambassador Fiat, right? And he had a Honda Accord at that point in time, which used to be smartly parked at his porch, and he used to be driving, and the driver would be sitting behind, right? So I knew he is fond of cars, right? I took details of what cars are available, what is Honda Accord, and got details. And when I met him, the first thing I started talking to him was MBA, because I was also an MBA, he was also an MBA, right? So I started talking on MBA, right? Thereafter, nothing to do with business. I started like this. This is called ice breaking session, right? So I broke the ice with MBA versus MBA, MBA at Harvard versus MBA in India, right? Discuss this. Then I came to cars. Oh, you got a lovely car. It's a very powerful car. I can see 2 exhaust pipes. Yeah, it's got so many BMP and this, that, and all. He came out with all his knowledge on cars. What did I do? In this 5-7 minutes, I created a personal repo with Ramapati Singhania, the CEO of JK Synthetics. Thereafter, I came to specifics that you're coming up with a plant at Prithvipura in Jhalawad, right? This is the layout of your existing plant. I had made a big chart. These are the weighing scales that you're using at these waypoints. And I am now this is an old plant. Now we have come out with new machines, right? And these machines are superior. These are electronic, those are mechanical, right? Or electromechanical. I gave him all kind, and he's an engineer, so he could understand. I had my universal knowledge. I am not an engineer, but I knew whatever engineering was required for selling weighing machines, be it mechanical, be it electronics, be it electrical. I knew everything, right? So I gave him all those details. He was very happy. Immediately he passed it, and he said, change my machines in phases for Kota as well. So I got double the order for the new plant and replacing of the existing. This is the confidence you have to build in your consumer. I used to get orders, right, as sales executive, as branch manager, as sales manager, or as vice president. There have been cases where I have given them tailor-made machines. Weighing systems is also tailor-made. You know, you got a silo, big silo, you want to make it into a weighing machine, so you have a silo weighing system. So you put load cells and all that jiggery and you make this thing. Similarly, you have weighing in motion systems also. We design it. So price is not available on the spot. Right? Huh? But customer is in a hurry to finalize because he wants the machine yesterday. So I would tell them, sir, you finalize the order and give me the order. We will charge you only whatever is nominal charges. And my company had a reputation. I had a reputation also. And I used to get orders, not 1, 2, there are 10, 15 orders which I had got. Your system so-and-so, 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 price is so-and-so. Price, your lowest. Can you beat it? Your lowest. This is the kind of confidence my company, and predominantly because of me, commanded with the consumer. He had so much of faith on me. And that faith is built on personal rapport. Remember, we will be talking about this also. The salesman sells before the product. You have to sell yourself. Their IDA model, which I told you, attention, interest, desire and action. Attention and interest part is what? You are selling yourself. You are getting attention first. Then you are developing interest. Right? And then desire is for the product. Action is for the product. But the first two, AI, is for selling yourself. So you sell first. The salesman sells himself first before he can sell his product. Anyway, time is short, dear. And I have been shown the watch that we have exceeded the time quite a bit. But I am very, very happy to be here to interact with you on my choices subject, which I think I know the best also, and that is selling. And when I say selling, I am again and again and again telling you, selling does not mean personal selling. Selling means the entire gambit required to make a product move from a factory to the customer's point. Right, friends? I hope you enjoyed my session. Right? I would be very, very happy to have you all here at Takshila doing your MBA so that I can teach you more, I can train you more and make ace sales people out of you. Thank you so much for joining this particular webinar. Whatever questions have been left out, send them on email class@takshila.in and I will respond personally to each and every email. Good day, good luck, God bless you all and take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.